Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Hi everyone, welcome back to my video. So today we will discussing our journal books by the title Designing Classroom Language Test, Chapter 3. Okay, and here our member groups. Absolutely first, my name is Alwafa Amrullah, and secondly,
Fitri Nurhayaty.
and the third person is
Nurlatifah.
okay. They are member group. The third group. Okay. So next slide is our table of content. There are 7 discussed. First is for assessment scenarios. Second is determine the purpose of the test. The third is defining abilities to be assessed. Fourth, drawing up test specification. And fifth, defining test item. Six, designing multiple choice item. And last, administering the test. Okay, so here for the first is my time. Huh? Okay. Sorry. This. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Okay. For the first is for assessment scenario. They are reading quiz, grammar unit test, and midterm essays, and last is listening, speaking, final exam. Yeah. For the first is what is reading quiz? The student have been assigned for homework a 2-page short story to read on their own, and the teacher has decided to begin class the next day with a brief pop quiz. And second is grammar unit test. What's mean of this kind? Okay. The students are simultaneously taking 2 integrated skill classes like listening, speaking, and reading or writing. And the grammar class serves to reinforce the grammatical form that are and created in other 2 classes. So next is midterm essay. The midterm essay is opportunity student to demonstrate their abilities when read a concrete essay with relationship, few grammatical and rhetorical errors. Next is listening, speaking, final exam is listening to an audio program with most the course grammatical and phonological elements. Okay. Why the reason it will be? Because this is a final examination, the only anticipated follow-up to the 2-part exam is a short report by the teacher, which parents and students will see in a few of weeks. Okay, we're going to second topic is determining of the purpose of a test. Okay, there are 2 parts. The first is new and innovative testing formats will take creative and for to design and a long time to refine through a trial and error. And second is traditional testing. Techniques can, with a little creativity, conform to the spirit of an interactive, communicative language curriculum. Okay, next is the consider of practical steps in instruction classroom step of classroom test. Okay, there are 2. So the first is test Usefulness is first and most important step in designing any sort of classroom assessment or in determining the appropriateness of an exciting test. Second is reading quiz. The quiz is designing to be instructional tool to guide classroom designing during one classroom period. Or we say, in other words, define or state the application intent or assist. Remember that every curriculum should be appropriately framed as sample construct started in the terms of performance by their student or of student. Okay, the third discuss is grammar unit test. You can see the example, the grammar test in left side, yeah. So then we'll understand and then simple present, simple continuous until present perfect. So what is this? Okay. Elsewhere in the curriculum, appropriate context are described as an continuation of the material introduction and practice in order to listening or speaking and reading or writing classes. So you left with a scanty but workable set of objectives on which to base your unit test. So next is you can see two between comprehension and production between two example, yeah, two explanation. You can read on screen. Yeah? Okay. It is usually helpful to articulate all the possible elements about comprehension and production to give you an instant checklist for your test specification. So this is mean your test will be checklist one by one. Next is will explained by our friend is Fitri Nurhayaty. Okay, please take this one.
Hello guys, so I will explain about drawing up test specification. So the test specification or specs for classroom use can be an outline of your test, what it will look like. To design or evaluate a test, you must make sure that the test has a structure that logically flows from the unit or listen it test. And there are think of your specs as a blueprint of the test that include the skills or abilities assessed, a description of its content, item types, method such as multiple choice and clues, and text, example, write an essay, reading a short passage, skill to be included, specific procedures to be used to score the test, and the last is an explanation of how test result will be reported to the student. And then grammar unit test. The test specification you design might comprise the following four sequential steps. The first is about a broad outline of how the test will be organized, already specified in the curriculum. And the second is which of the each sub-skill you will test. And the third, what the various tags and item types will be. And the last is how result will be scored, reported to student and used in the future classes. And the most important thing is the audience will not miss the point of your presentation. And we have midterm essay specifications. For the midterm essay specification, the curriculum prescribed and in-class administration of an essay on a surprise topic, so that student will not memorize their essay in advance. The specification for the assessment might look like this. The first, provide clear direction and write a prompt for either a narrative or a description essay. Third, the prompt must be on a familiar topic that student will, with a reasonable level of confidence, be able to write about coherently. And next, assign an expectation of a full page handwritten and no more than 2 full page. Next, a student will be given a 90 minutes time limit. And the sixth is, in the prompt, include evaluation criteria, content organization, rhetorical discourse, and grammar mechanics. The final grade is to include for subscore, content organization, rhetorical discourse, and grammar or mechanics. And we have devising test items. Devising test item is test development is not always a clear or linear process. Midterm essay is, this could be one of the easiest kinds of test tasks to create because only one item is involved. Student response are open-ended and evaluation criteria have already been covered in previous instruction. Listening, speaking, final exam. As you design final exam, it's important to consider the age of the student. Fifth grade are approximately 10 years old, and at this age, explicit form focus is appropriately not a part of curriculum. So your objective, as stated in the previous section, imply the implicit use of the verb indicate but not explicit identification. And the next explanation will be explained by Nurlatifah. Okay, next I will explain about the segment multiple choice items. Scoring. In the first scenarios we have been discussed in this chapter, scoring in mathematical terms, the grammar unit test, and listening and speaking final exam. For grading, how you set letter grades to this test is a product of the country, culture, and context of the English classroom. Institutional expectation, most of them unwrite, explicit and implicit definition of grades you have set forth, relationship you have established with this class, and the last, student expectation that have been engraved by previous tests and quiz in the class. And the next, giving feedback. In general, scoring and grading for a test, a letter grade, a total score, subscores, each of separate skill or section of a test. For response to listening and reading items, indication of correct or incorrect response, diagnostics set of score, checklist of area needing work, and strategic option. Ini dulu Kak, di pause dulu Kak. Ajan. Aku pause. Iya, anak hujan kok. Mana kursornya? Okay, next, for oral production test, a score for each element being read, checklist of areas needing work and strategic option, oral feedback after performance, conference after the interview to go over the result. And for written essay, scores of each element being read, checklist of areas needing work and suggest strategies, techniques to improve writing, marginal and end of essay comment suggestion, and the last conference after the essay to go over work. In the four example scenarios we have been referring to in this chapter are multitude of options exciting feedback. Reading quiz. The primary purpose of the reading quiz was to probe self-assessment and the class discussion. Grammar units test assessment in terms of grammars. Midterm essay assessment that have a big influence on grades are for conference and conferences between student and teachers. And listening or speaking final exam in the system. Okay, next, administering the test. When administering the test, what details should you attend to in order to help students achieve optimal performance? Here's a list of pointers. Pre-test consideration the day before the in-class essay. Number one, provide a free test information on the constitution of the test, time limits, portable electronic bricks, and material that students should bring with them, the kits of item types that will be on the test, suggestion of strategies for optimal performance. Number two, offer a review of components, a narrative and descriptive essay. Number three, give students a chance to ask any question and profit response. And test administration details. Arrive early and see to it that the classroom condition, lighting, temperature, a clock that all can see, clearly furniture, arrangement are conducive. Next, if audio or video or other technology is needed for administration, try everything out in advance. And the last, have extra paper, writing instrument, or other response material on hand. Start on time, distribute the list itself. Remind quickly start at the teacher desk, available for a question for students as they proceed. And the last for a time test run student when time is about to run out and encourage them to complete their work. Okay, before this meeting ends, we will open question. Ms. Nur Aisyah Amalia, time is yours.
Okay, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Let me introduce myself. My name is Nur Aisyah Amalia from 4th group. And for the first, I will respond and appreciate your explanation of this material. And I think that your explanation already quite clear for me. And nevertheless, I will remind to ask you some questions. And for the first question, why the teacher should follow these 4 assessment scenarios? And how important is this assessment scenarios for the teacher? Okay, that's my first question.
Okay, thank you Aisyah Amalia to us. As to this time, okay, your question is why the teacher should follow this 4 assessment scenarios and how important is this? So I will answer. From this book, we conclude that they consider the 4th scenario as the perceived truth, the 6 steps to design as assessment. This common classroom context should enable us to identify with real-world assessment situation, or in bahasa dapat disimpulkan bahwa dari buku ini skenario itu dapat melanjutkan dalam 6 langkah dalam perancangan penilaian. Konteks kelas umum ini memungkinkan kita untuk mengidentifikasi dengan mempertimbangkan situasi dari penilaian secara yang dunia nyata. Okay, and how about important this is this? So the important because we want to make effective assessment for our student to know what kind problem they have and they will solve do for further assessment. Okay, so Amalia, that's from me my answer. So what's your question?
Okay, what I get from your answer is this assessment scenarios is very important both for the teacher and for the students, right?
Okay.
Okay. For the second question, we already know, or you already explained that in the assessment scenarios, after we administer the test that we have created before, we should do scoring, grading, and feedback. And my question is, what kind of scoring, grading, and feedback is expected in this assessment activity?
Okay. Okay. Maybe this question will answer by Fitri Nurhayaty. Okay, Fitri, tell me sure.
Okay, I will answer your question, Nur Aisyah. So, the appropriate form of feedback on tests will vary depending on their purpose. For every test, the way results are reported is an important consideration. Under some circumstances, a letter grade or a holistic score may be appropriate. Other circumstances might require that a teacher over substantive was back to the learner. A section on scoring and grading will not be complete without some consideration of the form in which you can offer feedback to your student. The goal is for such feedback to become beneficial aspect. Scoring your scoring plan reflect that relative weight you place on each section and on the items in each section. And as a classroom teacher, after we make assessment, attends once, we might decide to revise our scoring plan for the course the next time you teach it. At that point, you will have valuable information about how easy or difficult a test was, about whether the time limit was reasonable, about your student effective reaction to it, and about their general performance. And then finally, you will have an intuitive judgment about whether a test correctly assess your student. And then you can take note of this impression even though they are not empirical data and use them revise a future test. In bahasa Indonesia, jadi kalau misalnya waktu kita menilai siswa itu tidak sesuai standar, berarti di kemudian pertemuannya hendaknya kita mengganti penilaian tersebut. Misalnya yang tadinya dari easy mungkin bisa ke pilihan ganda dengan tanda kutip pilihan ganda itu soal-soal HOTS gitu. Mungkin itu saja yang bisa saya jelaskan. Thank you for your question, and I think that's all. How about you, Aisyah? It's my answer good for you?
Okay, thank you, Fitri Nurhayaty, for answering my question. And what that I can get from your explanation is this scoring grading explain that the result of this scoring grading and feedback uh, it is also an important consideration to determine the students' level of ability, of their ability, English ability. And I think that's all that I want to ask for your group. Thank you for the third group for your explanation and answering my question.
Okay.
Maybe that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So our presentation about our topic today is finished. We were sorry if we have a lot of mistake for this presentation. So thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. See you.
See you.
Stop. Stop. Stop recording. Look.